I'm going to give this a couple minutes. I know StreamYard takes longer to send out the notifications, and I'm not going to be on super long. I'm just working on some flowers to finish up some projects. Then I need a nap. Constantly needing a nap. I'm going to use these to make sure I keep the arrangements the right size so I don't overwhelm the side spots of the grove. I'm just going to open one and make sure I make them the right size, and then make all the rest to mimic that. Good morning. Good morning, good morning. Okay, so I got styrofoam all over my phone. What we're going to do is just put together the side vase things for my grandparents' graves, and my uncle, and then one of my grandmother's friends that she and her newborn passed away. The baby passed away, and so we want to make flowers to put on their graves for Christmas. So I've had these for about a week, and it's been horribly cold, nasty weather. I didn't want to drag myself out and go on there, um, go on the cemetery and have to deal with everything in the nasty weather. As I was still sick from Grinchmas, from being out in Grinchmas. So I've put it off, and plus it'll stay up through January and part of February. So it's not that it's you have to get it done now. So that's what we're working on today. And Mom bought this pretty ribbon. Look, it's dual. Isn't that pretty? So all I'm going to be doing is putting flowers together. And we've got white and red. And then she gave me a skein of yarn, but I'm actually going to use this color as well to kind of bundle the flowers together so it will be hidden. That's all we're doing. We're just going to chit chat while I do this and get this done so they can be put up. Tomorrow looks like a decent weather day, so I'm going to try to get out and do all this tomorrow if possible. Get everything up on the floor. Got my glue gun heating up. I haven't used my glue gun in, oh my gosh, I don't know how long, y'all. And that's weird for me to say that because normally, like, glue guns in me, or I haven't used my glue gun, I don't know how long. So it kind of feels weird. I'm trying to check on Mom too. It kind of feels weird to be working with a glue gun again because I have not worked with one in so long. And I've got stuff to do, and I need to get it done because I've got a hoop drying for a dream catcher and some other stuff going on. I need to get everything moving forward. And it seems like I was just on hold with the weather and then my health after Grinchmas, so I just kind of waited. Mom and Dad are doing good. Mom, like I said on the live the other day, is looking at surgery in the first of the year, and it's going to be a positive thing for her, but it just scares the crap out of me because it scares the crap out of me. So we'll get through it. We will. Ow, that hurt. I pinched my finger. But they're doing good. Dad goes. He's still dealing with cattle and cabin and farm, and he goes. He was going to go bear hunting with David over the weekend, but didn't. He chose not to. And then David's brother went and got that big sow. So I guess that worked out. I guess. I don't know. I'm going to snip all these apart. I'm going to use them in different arrangements. I want them all to be slightly different. And then if I feel super special, I have the saddle over here. I will actually probably put lights in it. But the first thing I've got to do is to put some of these mauve flowers in it because it came with a bright red and not mauve, and I want to match it all up. But y'all, this saddle is super cute. I've got to bend the ferns around the edges back out, but I mean it's super cute. It's super cute. I'm gonna put some ribbon through it too, but I need to put a few of these mauve flowers in it to number one give it some height, but also to match it to the side. I need to match it to the side arrangements. So we got to do that. So I'm going to put a few of these in here. I'm going to give it some height with them. And then probably I'll end up putting some lights, some green and red Christmas lights in here in the saddle. And I normally end up doing that for Granny and Papa's grave. Anyway, it's not a big deal. I normally do end up putting lights somewhere. And I have, oddly enough, just a set of Christmas lights left that are green and red. And I thought, hey, that would be pretty, right? That would be cute. And she's having a hip bone fixed for nerve impingement spacing issues has been causing her. She's got Trendelenburg gait, and so she is having a nerve impingement issue fixed in hopes that it helps with her just day-to-day existence, and it won't help with the gait that she has, but it will help with her getting around without a lot of the discomfort she's been experiencing. So that's what she's going to have done. She used to love to mow, and when they were upkeeping Granny's yard as well as theirs, she loved to get on the zero-turn mowers and mow. And she was getting off of one day and tore her hip, and none of the doctors caught it. See? Just spread those through there, and then I'll do the ribbon, and it will match the others just really perfectly. And then I only took like 4 or 5 flowers. I've still got plenty. That's pretty good. I really like this ribbon. I think what I want to do, rather than make a bow, I just want to make it move through the arrangement. Kind of like you make it move through a Christmas tree. Does that make sense to anyone? And always, always dovetail. If a corner is going to be showing, dovetail it. And I'm going to have 2 corners showing, so we're going to go ahead and dovetail those. So the doctor has already approved and said, yeah, we'll do the surgery. They just don't know exactly how they're gonna have to proceed once they get in there. So just dovetail your corner so you have a point if they're going to be showing. So. And then pick the side that you want to be in front. Do you want to pick? I think I'm going to pick this one. Yeah, I'm going to pick this side. Hi. I'm in a sea of flowers. And what I'm going to do is take these, I'm going to start in the middle, and then I'm going to kind of make them disappear and then hang out the edge. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take the flat side, I'm going to tuck them in the middle and glue them to a flower. And then I'm going to make them pop up like a bow. And I don't really want a bow per se, I just want the elevation of a bow. And if you've not ever watched me craft, you know, some people, I guess, play this game when I burn myself with glue gun, because it will happen. They take shots. So, you know, whatever you do you. I say just hydrate with just water. Just water's fine. But, you know, your little edge. I ain't gonna stop you. It's your life. You do you, boo. And I just want to give the appearance of I just want to give the appearance of poofiness to the flowers. I'll move them in just a second when I get done with this little bow here. Just want to give the appearance of a bow right here. That's all I want to do. Just suggest that there's this really pretty bow living right here. And I sound like Bob Ross now. Oh dear. Okay. And I use my glue because I don't want things to relocate when I put them out in the cemetery. I don't want to come back and check on them and have them be, you know, the next acreage over stuck in the fence. So, and that's why I use a lot of hot glue when I'm doing cemetery flowers. And I want to make them kind of different lengths. I don't want anything to really match up. I want it to be kind of its own thing. So we've got the first two little loopy loops right here with the tails hanging down. And then what I'm going to do is make these kind of move through. I'm going to match them a bit. I'm going to make them kind of move through the arrangement and have a couple more tails on the other side so that from either side you feel like you're getting a front view. Isn't that pretty? Everything's folded up underneath right now. So that's what I'm going to do. Nothing huge, nothing super fancy. I opted for a pre-made saddle this year. I guess I'm being super lazy. I've just had a lot going on. And y'all know I normally like to go super extravagant and go buy all the flowers and do something really, like last year, Granny had her own tree, Papa had her own tree. They had a huge saddle in the middle. And Papa was a railroad engineer, so I put a train on his tree. And Granny loved birds, so I put cardinals all over. I'm gonna make one more stick it over here. I put cardinals all over hers, but one limb blocking the whole camera. I tell you what, there we go. So I get a little carried away when I'm crafting normally, but I also enjoy doing this for my grandparents. Because Granny was kind of my person. We had the same mischievous little nature lots of the times, and it was kind of funny. And we knew it, and we laughed about it. So I've added one long one that will stick out with the ferns when I get them all bent down. And when I get it to the gravesite, I'll actually pull these down a little bit more. But they're out of my way right now when I want to do that, so I'm not going to move them too much right now. Now, will you stay there so I don't cover up the camera? Thank you. Okay, now I'm going to do a little bit more. I'm going to do a loop and a little bit more movement through the... If you have time and you want to check out somebody that would really benefit from your viewing time, there is a channel called Hey Everybody. It's Hey, H-E-Y-Y-Y, Everybody. I think it's always everybody with Y-Y-Y at the end. I can't remember. Anyway, it's Hey Everybody. You'll find it. She does like hauls and stuff. And she's just, I started watching her, gosh, a couple years ago. She's just got a really sweet nature about her. And she lost her mom a couple weeks ago, and she's struggling with a lot of this, all the crap that you have to deal with it when you lose a loved one that kind of smacks you in the face. She's dealing with all that right now, and she's been left with a lot of unforeseen bills, and so it would help her out a lot if y'all would go and just, put her in a playlist and just loop it and let her play all day. It would be a really kind thing to do because she needs a lot of play hours for what she's dealing with and taking care of right now, and it would be a huge help to her. I want that one to kind of stick out over. Okay, that's cute. Okay, I can deal with that. So she's a sweet woman. Her name is Erin, I believe, but she's a very sweet woman, and she's just, it hit her hard. They were waiting on a surgery to remove something, I believe, from dialysis from the mother's arm, and I guess it ruptured, and very sad, unexpected, and just a sad moment for the family. Bless their hearts. Bad timing. It was right after Thanksgiving. So it's been a very difficult time for the family dealing with all of that. Okay. And all I'm doing is putting little pop-up loops on top just to suggest the movement of the ribbon through the bouquet. I'm going to try to pull my glue spider webs off. I'll do one on the end here. But she's this very sweet lady. Very sweet lady. I never had to double click these before. Yes, but Charlie's grave. Yeah, I kind of adopted a guy that was kind of cattywampus from Granny and Granny and Papa last year. And because every time I was there, his grave never had anything on it. And I don't know, I just had this forlorn feeling about this poor guy that nobody ever put anything on his grave. And I felt guilty being an eye shot, putting stuff on my family's grave. And so I kind of adopted Charlie and I decked it out. And for like a year or two, if I put something on Granny and Papa's grave, I put it on Charlie's grave. I don't know who Charlie is, but I felt bad. I felt bad, taking care of my family and having this, poor man laying over there and not having anybody to do anything for him. So I kind of adopted Charlie. And I came in, and I guess somebody finally came in and checked, and they had removed an old wreath that I'd placed there, and I was coming back to remove it, so it needed to be removed. They had removed an old wreath and placed some stuff, and I was like, oh, he does have family. So Charlie does have family, albeit I bet you they're very old. But they did visit his grave and put some stuff out there and bless their hearts. But now if I see it going without again, I will most definitely put something on it because I'm there enough anyway. And, and I walk through the graveyard, and if some of the graves are having problems that need to be reported to the caretaker, I report them. I kind of become the whiny family member of everybody that's buried there because it's an older cemetery. And I just, I have just kind of adopted everybody that's buried there. It's what I do. I'm just a weirdo. But it had, some of the graves have fallen into disrepair because they were kind of older. And it really irked me because Granny donated quite a bit of money there. And it didn't seem like it was being appropriately used. And so I called and was like, these need to be taken care of. This needs to be done. This needs to be stood back up. This graveyard this grave needs to be filled in. And we got several of the graves taken care of last year. And that made me feel a little bit better. But there's still a lot to be done because it is an older cemetery. Well, it's not that it's older, it's full. It's been full for a while because it is a centrally located one. And so it's just easily forgotten amidst the bustle of life. That is not nice to say, but that's exactly what it is. That's just sadly what it is. And it's very close to me, so I try to tend stuff so Mom doesn't have to get out and run up and down the mountain and, make extra trips to town. She's got enough going on. Okay, I'm liking this. This has turned out cute. Let me secure this ribbon right here because I don't think it'll stay if I don't secure it. I don't want anything traveling, I'm going to tuck this down under this flower so it shows a little bit better. Now we're going to do like a couple more tails. This is going to be the other side. So see how much the ribbon added to that? Just the ribbon and the tail sticking out. That's how much it added to that. So it doesn't take a lot to make these. It certainly doesn't take any talent because I'm sitting here doing it. It just takes time and effort. And when you put them out, you want it to be good weather because it's, it's cold right now. So you want it to be nice weather so you can handle everything. And Mom had made the last one for Memorial Day, and it's a larger saddle, and we want to reuse that saddle on one of the next arrangements I'm going to make. And so I need to be the one to put these out so that I can take the flowers off the old saddle, go ahead and throw them into the trash unit there, and then take the old saddle with me so that I can then decorate it there. So I can then decorate it and have everything ready to roll. I think I need just one more. Yeah, just one of this corner, and then we'll be done with the saddle. And then if I need to get anything else to puff up the sides, then I just got to yell at Dave, and he'll grab it on his way home since I'm up top today. So Let me see. I never had to like click on those twice to make them show up before. Glue gun. Stay. Okay, hang on. Ashley, let me catch up. I have a question. Here's your question, y'all. Let's see. I had a question. We go to court in 2 days for the baby, but the mom and dad is requesting the board change to be able to have their unsupervised business again. So they're in the process of being charged with an abuse or neglect charge, correct? At that point, it's highly unlikely. Like it's a kind of a moot point. I think all parents feel that they have to request this or they look like a piece of crap, which yes, parents, you do. But in family court, if there is even a question of possible or probable abuse, it's very unlikely to get your visitations to go from unsupervised to supervised. You're going to have to complete some programs, be in good standing at the court for a while, and kind of prove yourself. And it's it's in the children's best interest to do so. Sadly, and when you've been to family court as much as I have with my jobs, it's just an issue you see with people that they just struggle to be good people. Some people struggle to be good people, and it's rather sad. Okay, my Uncle Dwayne only needs one bunch, and I have some other flowers and Christmas stuff, and I may do his bunch separately. I don't know. And what I may do is bring the other sponges from the sides of the graves back with me so that we have them to redo for the summer stuff. Spring and summer. Ow, that was my finger again. That's not necessary at all for you to do that. 1, 2, 3. I'm trying to go through these and make them equal, but not like over fluff or over use, so I can space them all out because I'm going to put some ribbon in them. And I do have some more Christmas flowers in my craft room. And I did tell Mom if I needed to use them, I would. Just drop everything, Elizabeth. Just drop everything. I've got to the days where I can use my feet to pick things up and pull them up to my hands. So, yay for me. Okay. I want to use all these, but I want to space them apart. Now, here's where the yarn comes in handy. It's very unlikely, actually. It's very unlikely. I think they feel that's probably something they need to do just to save face, but it's probably something that the courts will look at and list and be like, they tried, but it's very unlikely that the court will make that change. They might give them like a special visit or additional visits around the holidays, but I don't see them getting anything unsupervised. Hey, Booma's in the chat. Booma's in the chat. Is she? I didn't know she was going to do it tonight, Booma. Is she doing it tonight? Hang on, I'm so far behind. I thought she was taking a break. Is she going to be in on it tonight? When David gets home, we've got to finish putting up that bear. I know problems you don't have with any other guest on your show. I know I'm weird. You don't have to say that. It just is what it is. It is just what it is. I'm a weirdo. Oh, did you? You sold her with the pity. Oh my goodness, did you? And you're starting at 6 my time, right? Oh gosh. I don't know how long it's going to take us to put that bear up, to finish that bear. We're butchering our bear tonight. I know, not problems you deal with anyone else. I know. I'm strange. It is what it is. When we get done with the bear, if I can, I can jump in. Aryan's going to be playing another game tonight. How did I get all the red ones, all the white ones on one side? I'm spacing them out because I'm going to put ribbon between them. Is it okay if we get done with the bear, if I try to come in and pop in the stage? You can load me up if I get time. I just have to get that bear finished butchering today. I'm so blind that I'm looking on the screen to see these. Yeah, well, that's good. I enjoy those shows. I do enjoy it when you have all those people on there because it really prompts a lot of communication, which is something we're desperately losing in our nation currently. So I really enjoy when you have those because, and it's nice for some people just to feel seen and heard that, they may not get that in any other way. And it's good. I've got some parolees that I believe would love to talk to you and talk to your viewers about their life and the changes they made and the things they've witnessed and things they learned when they were making all the changes in their lives from being part of the system, to being an actual productive member of society. I've got some that made really big changes that you just don't see a lot of, and I'm really proud of them. We got Chelsea in here. Hi, Chelsea. And I've not ever seen one of Booma's streams that doesn't end up positive. That something is expressed, learned, shared, or somebody really gets to put something out there that is kind of emotional and very meaningful for them. And so I really do. That's why I pop in and I might be doing the dishes or cleaning up after dinner or something, but I try to pop in and listen. And I recognize voices a lot. I'm gonna have to start putting the faces to them because I listen more than I'm watching right now. Because it just coincides with the time that David usually gets home from work. He gets off between 6 and 7. And so if I'm up here, it means I'm normally in the midst of dinner or something, and it makes it a little difficult sometimes. Where's my glue sticks? There they are. But if I get done with that bear and don't look a mess, let me cut the bear up and then I'll join your show. I'll fix my hair and put on some makeup too. Oh, the things I have to say. I should come with a warning. I actually bought something the other day. It was an impulse buy, but it was a shirt. Not by Sabrina and not by anyone I knew. It was actually on a Amazon storefront, and it had the evolution of man, but it was done to where man was eventually plugged into the cloud. It's supposed to be here this week. I swear I don't know how I found it, but I did. And when I found it, I went, holy crap. And I don't think I've ever hit buy quicker in my life because I wanted to show Sabrina, see. I know you're going through some crap, girlfriend, but it's worth it. It's worth it. The world's waking up. And I bought it, and I'm waiting for it to get here because I want to show everybody what I found. Because, we are making a difference. It sometimes doesn't feel like it, but we are. We are making a difference. Anybody playing the drinking game? I just burnt 3 fingers. I'll just burn them again. Don't touch it again, Elizabeth. Good Lord. Okay. All I'm doing is filling in with ribbon. I'm cheating. I'm filling with ribbon. I'm going to go and put some flowers under the ribbons. Ooh. And then I'm gonna glue everything at the bottom real good so it don't end up in the next county if we get a windstorm, which we will. Winter's gonna smack us in the face real soon. It already kind of smacked us the other night. It was 0 basically with wind chill here the other night. It was lovely. I don't get to sleep a lot during the winter because I'm up normally on wood stove duty, which seems to be my lot in life when winter comes around. So wood stove duty is even. I'm Got to keep the house warm. And if I'm up here, David's got to, David needs to sleep. So now if I'm down the hill, Dad's got the stove in the basement. So Dad's on stove duty if he wants it, because they've got various types of heat down there. So if he wants it, he's on stove duty, and I don't have to do anything down there. But up here, normally I'm on stove duty. We do have a furnace and all that. But listen, I play this game with the electric company during the winter. It says, try me. Try me, ho. And I know that they always are like, how in the crap did they lower their bill? And I'm like, so I keep my stove rolling on cold winter events. Now this will get stuck down, and I'm going to add another flower here in the back. This will get stuck down, and then I'll do a little ripple of ribbon coming out of the bottom. If I don't throw it on the floor. I'll do a little ripple of ribbon. I put one strand of ribbon back here. Mom might do a bow and then a tail. Yeah, let's do a bow and a tail right here and let this be the back. Yeah, there's always a front and back, right? Okay, me catch up. You caught alive? Howdy, howdy. I've not been live very much lately. My health has not been the greatest. Yeah, and now that we need to do more chapters of the book. But now that I know what I know from that book, ow, it also irritates me to have to write an electric payment out. It really just irritates me. I'm not gonna lie. So I'm not as nice about it anymore, and that's okay. I don't have to be. They made me mad. I'm gonna make a double bow here. Work, dang it, work. Thank you. Do a little double bow and then twist it. Watch, get ready to drink again. I can burn myself again. All I did was do a figure 8. And then while it's still a little moist and wet, everybody loves those words, right? I'm going to twist it. I'm going to twist it and floof it. I'm going to twist it and floof it. It's a technical term right there. Twist and floof. Okay, that's going to go there, but I'm going to put the tails down first. That's a technical term. Twist and floof. Twist and floof. Chelsea, thanks for jumping in, honey. I appreciate it. Okay, Boom, I will try my best to pop in after we get done with the bear. I may have to go and wash up for a minute and slap on more makeup. But I will try my best to pop in when I can. And everybody, now you know Boom is going live tonight. Sabrina will be there, so absolutely attend. I thought she was taking a break, but he said he got her with a pity vote, so... She went to the Symphony Orchestra Ballet, something. She went to something anyway. Y'all, I got a sneak peek at the dress she wore. She was gorgeous. She's always gorgeous, but it was just, it was just beautiful. It was gorgeous. And she went with her daughter, her youngest daughter. And it was pretty. She was just gorgeous. It's perfect color dress. It was perfect cut of dress. It was just perfect. It was freaking Hallmark, man. Would you stay and stop making noise like that? My goodness, you're aggressive. I wish I had some extra florist pins, but beggars can't be choosers. We're just going to hold that and let it burn our thumb till it stays. That's the way we're going. So I've gotten a little bow going on over here. Let's push that flower down a little bit. Yeah, let's do that. Push that flower down a little bit. I like that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and then I can pull those together. Yes, let's do that. I will stop throwing that over. I swear I will. Okay, now you come over here and stick to this little dude over here. Thank you. And we make a structure, a little I-beam in the middle. See, construction. Oh gosh, construction, y'all. Stand up. I know how to make things. I don't know, in geometry when I was a junior in high school, I had to make a bridge out of popsicle sticks, and listen, I'm gonna kind of blame it on the two boys that I was paired with that I'd known since kindergarten, but they wanted to take the role, the lead, and I let them. I'm annoying myself. If I'm annoying you, I'm sorry. And bless their hearts, Lord love them. If you're Southern, you know what I'm fixing to say. Didn't have brains of two nickels to call up a squirrel. It was just a horrible mess, and we did not get a good grade. And my geometry teacher was not pleased with us. But now what I'm going to do with these are going to set lower in the side thing than normal. So there won't be as much showing, so you don't have to worry like it's not good enough on the bottom. It does. And I have got styrofoam on my thumbnail. That's lovely. It's lovely. It's lovely. Yeah, you go rest. You got stuff to do. Who's this? I'm so blind I have to click everything. Boom is in the chat rolling with everybody. It's so nice that now we have multiple channels where we're all kind of this big family and we just kind of like move through YouTube and different platforms and keep up with each other and know each other. And I love the side conversations when I go back and rewatch these if I have time. I love the side conversations that are occurring from people that know each other. It warms my heart, and I just really enjoy it. And I got to notice that it was November of 2013 when I started this channel. And mostly what I did back then was just stupid stuff to make people laugh or to make me laugh because I was going through a lot with my health then. And I also was really worried about the changes I was seeing in Ryan Upchurch, who was just a Tennessee boy that sings. And I was very worried about the changes I was seeing within him. And he was going through a lot. And I did a video to become like, these people are doing like controlled opposition on you, son. You need to be seeing this a little differently. And we actually became decent friends at one time. And he actually would like insta message me at 2 a.m. and ask me questions. And then I noticed that when the drama would stop, it's almost like he would start something else to start it up again. And I would be like, dude, you don't need to do that. Your fans, it's we don't want to ride a roller coaster, We understand every once in a while if you have beef with somebody, but we don't want to do the loop-de-loop, 10 months out of the year. But I think he found that it was really good platform-wise because he was probably making more money with all the problems that he was, showing and throwing a big fuss about. And it just became his thing. And while I still will always love his music and support him, I just don't spend a lot of time, listening to him very much anymore, or I really don't even watch his channel much anymore. I wish him well, and I hope that fatherhood, brings out the best in him. But man, I'm getting too old for that crap. I'm getting too old for that crap. And y'all see how I handle stuff. I'm very calm and rational, and I just tell you how it's going to be, and I move on. I don't play the field, basically. I'm like, no, it's not, we're not going to do that, But he was, I don't know, it was almost painful sometimes to watch some of his lives because you knew that he was creating, I said once after the whole issue with his mom and stuff, I said, okay, well, good. Now we know that in 10 months, if he's not had any other issues, then that was the problem. But if he has more issues within the next 10 months, we know that, he's some of the problem and he's got more work to do. And his fan base got so mad at me. And I was like, why would you get mad at me? That is just logical. And, he had said some stuff that troubled me and some stuff about some things that he did when he was in the studio that would augment how his brain worked and stuff. And I was just like, you don't need to be saying these things. You've got children that idolize you, and you really need to be careful about that. And, sadly, you've put yourself in this role, and you're going to have to at some point accept it if you want to maintain the role and realize, oh crap, yeah, I'm a role model. Well, fart. And I don't think role model clicked as well as Rich, and I think we lost him a little bit. And it's sad because I really think that he is so super talented and smart, and his ability with music and lyrics is just kind of unmatched. And I worry about him. I still worry about him. He has we share a birthday, and so I really do worry about him. But man, I can't go through all that crap. I'm too old to watch and deal with a lot of your crap. Y'all see this stuff that people was like throwing a hissy fit over on that one guy's channel, and I was just like, listen, okay, I'll check it out. Found a few funny things, and was just like, not attractive, dude. Let's stop it. So when people get really like bent out of shape over stuff, I'm just kind of like, if people, like I've said this 50,000 times, if people want you to feel big emotions, it's because they want big control. You have to be super, super, super. Hi, Sal. You have to be super, super, super careful when people are saying like things that make you want to feel something that is, because they're trying to make you hyper aware of probably something they want to control within you. And they may not be doing it on purpose. It may just be a pure human moment, but they might. And I always sit back and look at the situation and go, what do you want from me? And how is this going to benefit you? And do I need to be part of that? And 9 times out of 10, I go, no, I'm out. I don't need to be part of that. I'm good. So, and I just kind of fade away. But I don't know. And now, people talk about the change they see in the fan base. And yes, they have become like little min pins that think they're Dobermans, and they're just aggressive and not nice and no tact whatsoever when dealing with people. It's just really sad. You did not stick. You were supposed to stick. You're supposed to stay right there. Live there. Be well. Stay. So I've really struggled with that because I really think, like, lyrically and, music-wise, he is a super talented young man. And it really bothered me that he went there and stayed there, chose to stay there. And now it's like I had a judge once tell me, if we got to prosecute on what we believed others are capable of, we would turn everyone into a monster. He said that's why we prosecute on evidence and actions that we can prove. And that has stuck with me a long time because I watch people, a lot now turn everything, if they don't like you, then, there's something wrong with you. You must be, this, that, or the other. And, there's no factual basis to it, but they just believe it because, obviously if they don't like you, something's wrong with you. And so people they have started turning, if you're playing the drinking game, I just burnt my thumb. If they don't like you, they will turn you into a monster. And yes, what that judge said was true. People, I see them do it all the time. And yes, there are real monsters out there, but 9 times out of 10, there is a reason to look at someone and understand the difference of opinion or something. But when you get into like the showbiz world, you have to be super careful because you do have like people's emotions in the palm of your hand. Just a simple little ribbon boost to go on the side of the grave. Nothing super amazing. I wish I had some leftover florist pins. I would feel better about this if I did. I mean, they're going to be stuck down in the sides, but I still would feel better if I had florist pins. But it seems like people that now have, these big platforms, they don't even care what they put out. And it's like the Candace and Erica saga. Holy crap! Good God Almighty! And it's like, Candace, honey, everybody's got an opinion. Yours isn't anything special. We've all got opinions. I don't know why you're hooting and hollering from the top of the mountain. And I don't know, is it just me, or has Candace Owens turned kind of hateful lately? Like, kind of malicious, vindictive. I think it almost coincided with her Catholicism. And you can get mad about being, mad at me if you want to about that. But it just kind of seemed like it coincided with when she changed into Catholicism. She just got mean. She just got mean. Like, stick your nose in the air, I'm better than you, and ha ha ha. And, I would call it hoity toity. Of course, she was already pretty hoity toity to begin with, but, it just feels like something happened. And now I watch her and I'm like, where in the crap did that come from? Who's that going to benefit? Well, why would you say that without having this, that, or the other? Or, and so I don't spend a lot of time on her channel. I do like to watch, like, opposition. I do. I will watch almost anything to see how other people think and how they're making their decisions, because I need to understand that at some level to understand how to communicate. But then I watch her and I'm like, is that necessary? And I mean, I watch Erica Kirk too, and I have questions about some of her behaviors as well. But I don't know. I have more to worry about, and then to spend my time on something that I know is going to be fruitless. So I think a lot of this is, I think they knew they kind of lost the plot with the society, because people were really going out there, and so they tried to kind of create two sides working against each other, with two of the mega minds and two of the beloved that were wrapped up in it. So they people that liked Candace and people that were following Erica through all this horrible event. And I think they used them to wrangle back in the emotions of America, or to at least get them on two opposing sides, so they had two groups to control instead of 50,000, because there were a lot of thought processes going on. Hey, it's all a possibility at this point. It's all a possibility. But does anybody else feel that it's kind of changed? Like, she has really changed? I just feel that she has really kind of gone off on the deep end. Well, thank you, sweetie, for coming on here fibbing. I do appreciate it. I'm having one of those sinus days, and I just literally got my hair in a comb. I've got a sweatshirt on because it's still kind of cool here today. And I'm just trying to get this done. And I look a mess, but it's okay. Ain't nobody gonna say me that means anything, so I'm good. That was mean, wasn't it? But it just, I don't know. It seems like the motive behind a lot of her behaviors just kind of circled back and went somewhere else all of a sudden. And I'm like, what? Did I miss something? Did I miss, like, what the crap? And it's, and the defamation lawsuits that she is currently, stuck up in. And listen, I understand when you look at that French guy's wife that you might see a burly woman. I'm a burly woman. I was farmhand most of my life, so I'm a burly woman. But I just, at some point, I think there's something a little bit more important to talk about and have, take it the wrong way. No, I take it wrong. And have discussions about than that. And I wouldn't want to put my name on a court docket or a hit list for something as stupid as that. I don't know. I believe that there are better ways to, pull the public perception around, and not play with their emotions like that. But I just really feel like she's just gotten really grumpy in the last, and I'm like, listen, she said she always gets grumpy when she gets pregnant. Well, then rent your show out when you're pregnant if you're a heifer when you're pregnant. I mean, being pregnant does affect you. It certainly affected me. I was is not the most pleasant person during all of that time. But if you know, if like you logically know your hormones will make you a raging turd, then set up. I mean, it's not like people wouldn't jump at the chance to host the show to get some exposure. So just set it up so that you're not out there hurting yourself and others. I don't know. I just feel like she's gotten way off the mark, and we're losing a lot of talking points over stupidity. Ow, that hurt. And it really frustrates me because I'm like, blue gun, we're gonna fight. I just, I just feel like we've got so much else to be talking about and dealing with. Like I watched Dr. John Campbell, and I love that man because if he shows you something, he shows you the paperwork behind it. He shows you the tests that he's researched, the journal he's reviewed. He shows you the paperwork that they put out themselves half the time. I love Dr. John Campbell, and he has him like investigating a lot of stuff the last several years has even changed his perspective on society and what the heck's going on. I love him because he actually questions stuff and will challenge his own beliefs and will tell you when they change. And I really appreciate that. And I love to watch that man. And he's really irritated right now, bless his heart. And he has every right to be. But I really appreciate the way he behaves when he is irritated because it's still useful. It's still creating smarter people. It's not taking them down and putting them into just an emotional state and reducing them to an emotion. Don't, and I always, when I had parolees and stuff, I'd say, don't let your feelings become felonies, especially to the men that wanted to date women. And hey, as a woman, I will say women are Satan incarnate. I mean, there's me. Oh Lord, if I had a choice, I would have had a all male roster on my caseload because women were the cattiness, the complex thought process they would try to take you down with, and I didn't have time for that crap. And so they didn't always like me when I would tell them to, take their little behaviors and move it on out. So they didn't like me all the time. But, women are mean. And women, don't lie, y'all know it. We do. We're mean. And a lot of times women are super hyper emotional for no other reason than they think that behavior is going to get them somewhere. And y'all, it doesn't. It doesn't. It makes people look at you like you're having a mental breakdown. It doesn't help anything, and it needs to stop. And, when I have a heifer that's bawling and trying to break down fences and, fight with the other cattle, she's leaving the farm. If I have a horse that won't get along with the group after I've tried everything, he's leaving the farm. It's just logic. I'm not going to have a troublemaker, And it seems like here lately, the troublemakers are what's been getting all the glory in the world. And I'm just like, wow, society, we're sucking big time right now. So I just wish people would wake up a little bit and be like, oh, yeah, that wasn't so smart. Why did we do that? Was that the best idea? I had a thing when my kids were growing up, they'd say something I really didn't appreciate or that was not going to be welcome when they were, a couple years older. And I'd say, a better way to have said that might have been. And then they would have to rephrase it. And we would keep saying that until they got it rephrased correctly. And I was like, okay, yeah, that's better. And we've moved forward. And I find myself watching a lot of news channels now going, and a better way to have said that might have been. And you're just like, come on, come on. Boom was in here just keeping everything going. I don't know, Candace is just, something strikes me as something, there's been enough drastic change in her, what I would call otherwise consistent behaviors, that it makes me wonder what's going on. Because when you become a parent, you don't normally become more erratic, you become more stable. Um, And so I've got my granny and grandpas, I've got my granny and papas and my uncles and the saddle done. So now I've got to do four sides and then the mother baby combo, and then I'll be done. And those don't take super, as you've seen, they don't take a whole lot of time. So no, I don't have to do four sides. I'm going to do two more sides, and the baby and mama. I never said I was smart. I said I was educated. Those are two very separate things. Okay. Okay. And I have got glitter. Ask Sabrina my views on glitter. If she's ever now, there's glitter in my house right now, but normally there's never glitter in my house. My teacups. But I always say when Sabrina visits, you can tell because she brings the glitter herpes. Because everywhere the woman goes, she takes glitter. And so I took a picture of glitter the other day. I was like, look, glitter herpes. And she's just cracking up. But seriously, everywhere she goes, she takes glitter. She takes glitter. Glitter is the devil. There's been a big conspiracy about what it's made out of, too, and how they use it, which, there's a lot of stuff out there to be curious about. I have to really be careful with my time because I have a curious nature anyway, so I have to kind of be like, nah, that's not worth it. I have to focus here. Because if I do latch onto something, I really latch onto something, and I have to be like, don't spend your time there, Elizabeth. Don't do it. Yeah, if we get the bear butchered, and listen, this is how morbid I am as a human being. Okay, of course I grew up on a farm, dealing with livestock, dealing with life and death, and we had a meat processing business. My brother had a taxidermy business. I just grew up with life and death and dealing with that. And if it's an animal and you can hang it up, I can take it apart. Not as quickly as I used to be able to, but I can take it apart. And I used to be really good at it. Now, when it comes to like, I could never be a funeral director or no, have totally different emotions there. But with animals, I'm good with it, and I understand the process and the need and how we use them, and we treat them well. I'm not going to be mean to them, but I had a thought the other night, and I was like, "You are morbid, Elizabeth. You need to stop." And I had to stop and be like, "Okay, you know something? You're too used to this, and you need to stop." Because I opened the back fridge because I keep a lot of yogurt out there. Um, because if not, it'll just take over the front fridge. I eat a whole lot of yogurt, the Greek yogurt for the protein in it. And I opened the back fridge, and y'all know we've got parts of that black bear back there that we're processing the meat. And I was just grabbing a yogurt cup in the top of the fridge. And I looked down, and oh yeah, well. And I thought, yeah, because I hate processing stuff. I've done so much of it in my life, I just hate it. It just has to be done, and I hate it. And I grabbed my yogurt cup, and as I was walking back, because it's in the mudroom, as I was walking back to go through the double doors back into the house, I started singing Patsy Cline's "I Fall to Pieces," and I had to have like a momentary check and go, "Yeah, it's not good, Elizabeth. You might need to just pull back a little bit. That was rude." And I was like, "Oh my god," because I had like a really cold moment right there. And I have to sometimes remind myself that I am not quite what most people are used to because of where we live and how we live and how close to nature we live and the things that I have dealt with and seen in my life. And so sometimes I have to go, not good, and have a momentary check in and go, you need to worry about that one. And so I had to have a moment and do a check in and be like, that was not nice. Because even though it's just a black bear, it's gonna feed my family for a lot of the winter. It's it was my brother in law that actually harvested it, but he shared the meat with David for helping to get the bear out. And David's going to fix the skull and I think the cape for him. And it bothered me because even though it's just a black bear, I still have a lot of respect for the animal because of the way I was raised up, and it is helping my family. And so when I sang that, it was funny, but then I had to go, that was not nice. That was not necessary. And I thought, it's time to say, hey, Elizabeth, are we getting a little cold? And I do have a knack for being a little cold. Um, especially when like there's someone that's ready to throw red paint on us somewhere at these festivals. Ugh. Um, I tend to go even colder. And David was trying to be really polite one time. This was about 2 years ago. He was trying to be really, really, really polite one time, and I am not really polite. Like if you just throw dirt at me, it's coming right back. Yeah, and I'm probably going to scare you a little bit. But her son was just fixated, wanted to touch all the pelts, and we were like, no, it's okay because these kids don't really get the chance to see nature up close like this, and it's okay. He's not going to ruin anything. Well, let him. It's fine. And she was like, well, I don't want him to become used to this. And I just did that and kind of sat back down. I had something in my hands. I was doing something with my hands that day. I think I was fixing an earring or something. And she was getting really hateful to David. And David was like, well, ma'am, I only hunt 1 to 2 properties a year. I rotate the ones, or trap. I only rotate the ones that I do trap. We don't push all the animals out. We just go for a healthy balance so that we're not having kid stalked domestic animals taken, or huge predators coming up close to, you know, houses and possibly potentially being a danger. And of course, there was nothing he could have said at the point to have justified it. She's like, well, do you ask these animals permission? Do you? Do you? Do you? And she was walking on the table. When she finally got around the table, she's looked at me and I said, no, honey, we just shoot him and go on. I just looked at her. And I gave her the say something else, Heifer, and it's going to get even worse. And the little boy goes, well, he's like, how do you get their skin off of them? And I'm not going to like completely harm a child. I said, well, I said, in the winter, I said, everybody's looking to spring clothes and spring fashion. I said, the animals are too. I said, they're getting ready for the spring runway. I said, so winter's out. I said, in with the new. And I said, we just take them and make use of them. And he was satisfied with that. He was a little kid. Like, you don't have to, you can milk them up to the truth as they are age appropriate to know. And she was satisfied with that. And she came back a couple hours later and apologized for her behavior. And she knew that I was really irritated with her. She saw it in my face, and I think it probably scared her a little bit. And she came back and she was apologizing. And I said, ma'am, I said, you don't have to apologize for your opinion. I said, but don't smear it on me like you need to leave a mark. I said, I live different than you. I said, and that's okay. And I said, you need to realize that and move on with yourself. I said, because I'm completely okay with being different from you, you know. And I said, I don't care how you live. As long as you're not harming anybody and follow the law, I give a rat's honey what you're doing. And she was trying to apologize, and I was like, well, just go on. I said, now you're taking time out of my day that I need to be dealing with customers. And I just kind of moved on out. And she still knew I didn't appreciate her. And David was just like, he's like, I can't believe she came back to apologize. And I said, I can. I said, she probably thought I was going to pop up somewhere at night with, black marks under my eyes and go, hey, lady. But some people can be really rude because you just have a different lifestyle. And if they were actually spend time with us and see what we do and how we live, they'd be like, oh crap, this is really close to nature and really sensitive. And it's, you do think about these things. You do worry. Yeah, I worry about the animals. They feed my family. If they're not healthy, my family's not healthy. If they're not there, my family will not be here. So there's a huge tie into that. And that people don't understand that. They think if you just let nature go, that it will take care of itself. It won't. It won't. Nature is much like society. It will just tear everything down and stomp it and burn it and move on. Animals don't come with an inherent morality. They don't. If a black bear runs across cubs that aren't his and they don't have his scent, he'll kill them and eat them. He doesn't care. He just knows they're not mine. I don't want them here. That's why bucks fight and try to kill each other to get, dominion over the does. That's why wild hogs, what they eat in a family unit. If they run into another family unit, they battle and kill. And if they battle and kill them, they'll eat them. That's what chickens and chicken houses. If one falls dead and you don't pick it up, you're supposed to pick the dead up twice a day in broiler houses. But if the other chickens just decide, hey, Larry died, he looks good, Chickens will eat the chickens. So when you eat a chicken, you're eating a few chickens. I hate to change that, but they're cannibalistic. And nature is not as nice as people think nature is nice. There's no sympathy in nature. And we walk into it knowing that we're not the top predator, and but we walk into it with heavy respect for every animal out there because we all rely on each other. And I don't want to treat anything bad after we've harvested. I'm very, from my background and how I was raised, I'm very spiritual, I guess, in a way, about how we treat that animal once we harvest it, just from how I was raised. And then when I got into the native side of things, how the elders taught me to be. And so I'm not disrespectful, but I had to have a talk with myself because that just came out of nowhere and even kind of shocked me when I did that. And I was like, okay, it's time to have a talk, Liz. You're getting a little cold. But I can be very cold, and it does come from a lifetime of dealing with things that other people could not deal with and ran from. Or Chelsea's back. Yeah, I wish people would worry, like you get one chance and you should be completely focused on your chance and make it the best possible. And I always tell people, when they get really aggressively in my business, I'm like, why don't you check for polyps while you're up there? My doctor would appreciate it. And they normally back off after that, and they're like, oh, she does not appreciate that. And but it seems like people are we're dividing society into teams. And it's like, well, if you really look at yourself, you could be on several different teams. If you have to then scale yourself down to just be on one team, you've really reduced yourself from what you have the capacity to be. And why would you reduce yourself? You're supposed to be living life and growing. If you're not growing, what are you doing? You're not learning. You're not. It doesn't make sense. And so all I see is like a mass reduction of the human component, so that we can be emotions, so that we can be led by the nose. And I'm just like, no, no. The government's already put up enough barbed wire fences for me. I already feel the crunch. I don't need to be led by the nose. And so when we do it willingly to each other, I'm like, why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? I mean, we have to look critically at people. We do, and some people more than others. But just on a day-to-day basis, why are we doing this? Just we go to Save a Lot with a chip on our shoulder. We go to Walmart with a chip on our shoulder, and it's just like. And I had one lady. We weren't out of high school very long. I had one lady. I saw her in Walmart. It was, how everybody's your best friend after high school, even if they weren't your best friend during high school. And she saw me and she was like, "Oh, Elizabeth, hello." And I was like, "Huh," because she never spoke to me in high school. And she was like, "Oh," she's like, "I don't run into many people anymore." And I'm like, "Said you caught me today." I didn't say it, but that's what I was thinking. And she just like joined in the shopping with me, just like followed me down the aisles, and I was like, I couldn't shake her. And I just kept shopping, thinking eventually she'll pick up on it that I don't care if she's with me or not, and she'll flake off. No, no. And of course, this was several years ago, and I guess we saw a classmate or someone that was a younger. It was within our 4 year span of high school, so we had seen them at the school. And she goes, "Oh my goodness, she looks so horrible. She's really let herself go." I thought she looked fine. Just looked like she was running in to get a gallon of milk for the kids and go home. I mean, good lord. And I kind of did one of those slow turnarounds with that crazy facial expression. She goes, "Well, you should always put yourself in the best light when you go out into society." And I was like, or maybe she just needed a gallon of milk for the kids. She goes, "Well, she should have put on some makeup." I said, "Who wants to waste makeup and an hour of get ready time when you just need a gallon of milk to make hamburger helper? My God." And she goes, "Well," she goes, "you wouldn't understand." She said, "You don't know what it's like for people to expect you to be the most beautiful people in the county." And I just kind of turned around. I said, "Pump the brakes there, honey." I said, "You only live in a county 8,000." She left me to shop alone after that. But some people, the expectations and the truth running through their head are. And if we could communicate more effectively and have a better dialogue instead of reducing ourselves to one idea or one belief that can only coordinate with this team and be on this team, and then we would understand that we have a whole lot more in common than we do, you know, different. And she couldn't understand why anyone would go to town without full makeup and, you know, heels. And I was just like, I don't understand why people would do that if they're not going to something that requires that dress, you know, because my God, you know, makeup's freaking expensive. And it takes time to put on. And when you have children, you know, those are money and time are two things you really don't have a lot of. So, and she was just, she followed me for like an hour through the goddamn store, and she just would not pick up on, you know, I not having conversations about such superficial things. I'm not joining in. You can leave at any time. But when I directly, you know, confronted her about that, she just literally flaked immediately and ghosted me. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna finish my shopping and go on. So I run into people and I say hi. If they say hi to me, I say hi to them. I give what I get. I'm just as nice as I can be. And you know, if you want to throw arrows at me, then that's okay. I've got some too. And if I feel necessary, then I'll do what I have to do. But for the most part, I am like, I go through life and I'm amicable and I don't have any issues with anybody. You know, I have very good personal boundaries. I have a very good bubble. And it's not that I don't welcome people in my bubble. I express myself enough that people know my expectations of them if they're going to be close to me, behavior and how we treat others, and you know, and that's way more important than ideologies. You know, just basic human treatment is way more important to me than ideological stances and political stances and stuff like that. So, you know, but yeah, I can be a heifer. I'm be a heifer in 2 seconds. I'm good at it. I don't like to spend my time there because it really wears me down. It really wears me down, and so I just don't give my energy to it. Get you in a good mood. Well, good. I'm glad that sometimes I don't. If I think I'm having a day where I'm not, and I do, I have days where I'm not conducive to society. I have those days, and I choose not to come on the internet because I know I'm not conducive to society at that time. And I'm like, yeah, let's not share this mood with the world. It's not a good one. Um, but I do try to come on here and at least make things think. And lots of times, whatever the vibe is in the news that day, or the stories that are being pumped around social media, I'll kind of sit back and take a different perspective. Even if I may not agree with a different perspective, I just want people to sit back and think, and understand, you know, you kind of need to train yourself to look in every direction before you follow one. And the best thing I ever learned to do was to have, you know, 3 or 4 different perspectives and try to see one thing from 3 or 4 different perspectives to understand how that thing was going to be taken apart and taken home with people, and how it would grow from there, and which person do I want to look like, and how am I going to help this issue grow, how am I going to help it spread. And so I always try to look at stuff differently and see, you know, how do I want to be in this storyline, what's the best route for me, and how is it going to have a ripple effect on the people around me that I care about. And I don't think that a lot of our younger generations have that ability to think like that. Um, it's kind of been bred out of them with the instant gratification. And you know, in America, there's no coming of age rituals or time frames or um, hurdles they have to jump to prove themselves as beneficial adult part of humanity. And I think we need something like that so much, because a lot of our society, if you've got a yappy mouth, then you get attention, whether it's good or bad. And there needs to be kind of a trial period for that. It's where you grow and show yourself, you know, competent enough to have that yappy mouth. And you know, you see that behavior in, you know, tribes in other continents where they, you know, don't have a huge society, but it is the people that are most thinking of others are most beneficial to the whole tribe, have proven themselves to be competent in daily life within their tribe, you know, and those are the people that lead. And I just, for some reason, look at our leaders and go, how in the crap did that happen? You know, it's like we watched a Carol Burnett show and put the whole cast in to lead. And so I don't know. I think a lot of it's probably just the younger generations that, the instant gratification, the loss of thought process, the arrogance that comes, the ego that comes from being able to Google everything and think you're smart, but you're not smart. Google holds the knowledge. You don't. If you have to come up with it without Google's help, you can't. Therefore, you're not smart. You're just competent at Google. And I can't explain that to these kids. I can't. And I really want to, because I'm like, I really want you to be smart. But you have to have it here. And it's not here. And I try to explain to a lot of them, if it's not within you, then it's not yours. So if it's not on recall, it's not yours. And but I'm struggling with the younger generations and stuff. And so when I do stuff that makes me go, oh, that was cold, and I know that in that place I'm not going to appeal to a lot of people, and not that I really worry about appealing, but I do know that to give information to the biggest group possible, I have to have some manners. So I try. Some days it's hard, but I try. And I try to role model that. And even if I have to get snarky, I try to role model that, because there's a good way and a bad way to handle almost everything. And I don't know. That's one of my biggest pet peeves right now, is the people that are in a place to have the views and to lead and show and role model behaviors for our younger generations. They're doing a really sucky job at it. And it's going to make society worse. And, you can be snippy and curt and still be a decent person. You can get your idea across and sometimes have to do it in a snarky way, but still be a good person. And I see a lot of that being thrown out and just absolute harassment, being brought in. And it's like, whether or not we agree with what may or may not have happened to Erica Kirk's husband, it's just kind of like, I'm going to say I have some questions. A lot of it seems, but like if I was Candace Owens, I would be like, we'll deal with this at a date when it's appropriate. And a lot because the emotional charge, and when I say charge, I'm not talking about I'm talking about like a charge, a fuse. The emotional fuse is way too short at that point to the boom. We need to let the fuse get longer so that, we can control the boom. And we don't see that anymore. We don't see people trying to take time to gather information and form a true opinion and have it be based on, data and evidence and be explainable. We have a huge emotional based run with the society, and everything's emotion based. And emotions are not good decision makers. Learned that in my first marriage. Good God Almighty, I was just, listen. If I had a IQ test in my first marriage, I would have failed miserably. So bad, so bad. I don't know. I just think we need to be better to each other. I mean, there's a time to stand up and go, listen, dude, not cool. If you treat people like this is what they're going to come back and treat you. And when you give them factual evidence to do it, it's not cool, And there's a time for that, and then there's a time, when these horrific things occur. There's a time to go, I probably need to wait for more information. And so we've got people that are trying to leak information. I'm like, if you leak information, then it won't be admissible in court, and we'll never know what occurred. Because if it's not going to be in that discovery packet to both sides to be really gone through and fought back and forth on the witness stand, and we get more information, we're going to be locked out of that. We're not going to understand. I would rather sit back and wait so that when they get done, if they didn't do a good enough job, then I can take what they have at least done, the work they've done, and build on it. But to take it and check it out and to never know if it's something that would have changed if it could have been argued in court or not. And it's harmful to the case, and it's harmful to us if we want any kind of knowledge, you know. So, yeah, a lot of it's we have to play the game, and I know we hate the game, but sometimes playing the game and being smart enough to understand, you know, the rules of the game, sometimes it just, you know, you have to understand that they're playing it against you, and sometimes playing the game is smarter than trying to usurp the game. Uh, so I just found out that lots of times, like if I had a colt that I was trying to learn to teach how to lunge, run in circles around me, um, when they were learning that they had to stay a certain length away from me, they would either run in and try to kick me because they were young and mean, or they would try to pull me and break the circle and just run wherever they wanted to go. If they were doing good and I gave them an you know another few inches on the long line, it was to test and see what's their first motive. Are they going to break when they feel freedom, or are they going to go, no, this is my job right now and this is what I'm doing. I wanted them to say, no, this is my job right now, this is what I'm doing. And so when I gave them a few extra inches on the long line, I'd want to see them still continue and not have a huge emotional, oh my God, I'm leaving, you know. I wanted to see a thought process. And if they couldn't give me a thought process, then you know they got a consequence, and we started again. And I trained so many horses that way. Trained so many horses to lunge and to that's you do a lot of groundwork with a horse to prep it for being ridden, and that's where you do a lot of your bonding with the animal, and just a lot of the ground rules of behavior. And I think that our children are missing out on those ground rule lessons, and a lot of parents think that they're not the people that are psychiatrists and psychology is to say, oh, if you have a problem in your family, the best thing to do is hand your child to a stranger. And even as someone that studied psychology and has worked in counseling, no, that should never be your first thought. No, your first thought should be rally the family and let's talk about this and how can we help each other with this problem that's going on in our family. You know, there are certain instances where it does need to go to a professional, and we can all imagine those. But for the most part, when you're just having normal teenager issues, you rally the family and you talk about it, and you ask them to help you with this child if they see this behavior. You know, we need to be aware. Everybody needs to be aware of it, and we need to help each other. And anybody that has time with that child or is, you know, has a moment where they're monitoring that child, you need to be aware and give that kid as many opportunities to speak to adults that are willing to listen inside the family as possible. Not chuck them to a stranger, because in that way we have pitted parents against professionals. And I saw it all the time when I worked in the wilderness boot camps. There's a little boy that he thought he was something because he called the cops on his mama when his mama asked him to do the dishes. And he refused to do them, and his mama gave him a spanking. I think she gave him like 3 spots, like with her, it was 3 spots with her hand. And you know, he didn't have any bruises or any welts or nothing. He was just a belligerent little turd. And then he called 911, and it turned into a whole court case. And because the court didn't really know how to intercede because they'd never had something like that. They knew that the young man was taking, you give him an inch, take a mile, and but they also knew that the parents were losing control, and so the option was, well, you're not giving him good boundaries, so he needs to go somewhere to learn boundaries. So he got sent to a wilderness boot camp for a year to learn boundaries. But he showed up at that wilderness boot camp and he thought he was something because I got my parents in trouble. They thought this will make me do the dishes, and I just he was like a little baby rooster, and he was about that tall, bless his little heart. And I remember sitting there and listening to him, and I was sick of him that day. I was so sick of him. Now most of those kids I would have adopted and taken home and loved them like they were my own, but I was really sick of him that day. And he's like, yeah. He's like, yeah. So I've got a year away from my parents. He's like, yeah, because I got them in trouble. And I turned around and I said, do you realize how you sound? I said, because no, nobody here thinks you got a vacation. I said, you got the crappy end of the stick and you did it to yourself. I said, shush. I just turned back around and handled whatever I was handling. And a couple, 3 days later, he came to me and they called the counselor's chief there. And he said, Chief Liz, he said, I've not told anybody this, but yeah. He's like, I'd rather be at home. And I said, I know you would. I said, but the more you keep saying you wouldn't, I said, eventually you're going to believe it. And I said, you're going to talk yourself out of loving your family. And I said, you're going to talk yourself into becoming part of a family that never loves you. I said, gangs, bad groups of people, bad social groups, drugs. I said, so stop trying to talk yourself into something that you know is wrong. I said, just to save face. I just tell him I screwed up. I shouldn't have done this. And when he finally admitted that before the group, they had a really good, like a little talk that day. I think they were sitting there for like 4 hours talking. And a lot of the other kids were like, yeah, this was not a good decision for me. And I wish I had never done it. And I wish I could go back and erase what I did. And it was just nice, just to see them have a profound holy crap moment. And for some reason, we don't have those anymore in our younger kids. Basically, yes, yes, because they go to pre-K, and by the time they're 18 months to 3 years old, they're in a program subsidized by the government so both parents can work. Even though you're not going to make enough money, really, honestly, to justify leaving your children and putting them in someone else's care, um, and to have the issues you're going to have down the road, but it's the lie of the century that to be fulfilled, you have to be something other than what you choose to be. you know. So women are trying to choose all these huge, big things. And I'm sitting there going, do you understand that you're the only creature with the human capacity to create life? Like the other side can't do that. And we control. Women, when they're in utero, you already have DNA. You carry not only your mother's DNA, but your grandmother's DNA already that are preloaded into what will become basically your uterus and eggs. So the moment you're conceived, if you're female, you carry 3 generations within you at least. The men don't get to do that. There's a reason, women, there's a reason why we're linked to the past and we carry the future. And it's so that we are consistent in our mindsets with what we're doing. We are creating life and it's precious and we should care about it. And the worst thing I think that has ever happened is, when they made mothers executioners. Yes, it's always going to happen. Yes, there are always going to be people that are going to choose a bad route. Yes, there's always going to be medical necessity for certain things. And I'm certainly not against that because, that's a bad position to be in for anyone. Um, but to prey upon women with the thought that if medically they needed something and their life was in danger, it would not be given to them is, man, that's low. That's low because anyone that's out there that understands the medical field, has worked in the medical field, that if it's medical necessity, if the life that may be lost is the mother's, there will be a choice given, and they have to follow the wishes. And sadly, sometimes you may need to put your wishes on paper before you choose to have children, so that should something happen and you're not able to speak up for yourself, that it will be on paper somewhere. But I really think a lot of society's issues became solidified beyond repair when we devalued human life to the point of we brag about the termination of it and we act as though we don't care what happened after that. It's just sad. It's sad for me. It's sad. Yeah, it's amazing. Like I didn't know that when I was young and having children. I didn't know that. I know it now, and I try to tell people about that. It's amazing how basically your DNA, your genetics, they come preloaded, and you pack the past and create the future. It's just freaking amazing. And at the time of conception, if you jumble together all the possibilities that could be, it's like 475,000 or something, and boom, you were created. That's not Plinko on The Price is Right. There's a reason why you came to be. God didn't say, let's turn this loose and shoot for Gloria, shoot for Linda. There's a reason you were chosen to be here. I'm sorry, I just had the mental image of God up there playing Plinko. Sorry. Oh Lord, you remember that show No Whammies? That's an even. I had that mental image too. That was even funnier. You just seeing God, no whammies, no whammies, no whammies. So we all have to look at things sometimes differently. But I think listen, women. I'm a woman, and I think women have done some amazing things. But I think women have also tore down so many societies because they don't respect themselves and what they are capable of. And what you are capable of is the past, the present, and the future. And when you stop yourself to focus on only one of those, you diminish your capacity and your role that you can have in this world. And you choose to limit yourself. So it doesn't mean that everybody has to go there and have babies. Oh, absolutely not. But think about the amazing thing that you've been given and what that could mean. How why that was done, what for what reason, and what role do I need to play in this, and how do I feel that that should affect me, you know, and the way that I attack the world. A lot of women attack the world with just anger, and it's pathetic. It's really pathetic. Boomy, you need to be resting. You've got a show tonight. If I get done, I will pop on. If we get done carving up the bear early enough, I will definitely pop on. It is my wish to be there. I would really enjoy it. But if I don't, I will definitely have it on listening while butchering the bear. But I will do my best to pop on. I may not look glorious. I never look glorious, y'all. I mean, I may not look great, but I'll try to pop on. So I don't know, but when I used to get really offended when men said that women's behavior was a lot of what's wrong with society because I was a big Amazonian woman and I could do anything a man could do, and I at that point in my life saw in no way that a man was better than me because I'd been raised on a farm and I was just as handy as any man out there. But I didn't understand my role truly as a woman in the long term setting of the world. Now that I have grandbabies, I'm like, oh my God, I'm a lineage. I am part of a bunch of women that carry the past, present, and future. And it was way more important than I thought at the moment. Way more important than I thought at the moment. And now it's just like, man, I wish I had thought about this more. I wish I'd known more about this when I was younger. I wish I had looked into, instead of understanding everything genetically that has to do with livestock, I wish I'd understood more about the human body and everything it did so amazingly. And when I look back with that concept in my head, and I look back at women's behavior over the last, especially 100 years, I go, women have always had kind of a submissive role, but it was submissive in like political portrayal and like social standing. But if you look back at a lot of the decisions and stuff that happened in the world, women held a very big role. And if you look at the creation of the next generation and the raising of the next generation, women really have all the control if you look at it like that. And we gave it up to go to a job where we really have no control, where we were turned into a monetary sum equal to an hour of work and we're fired without a thought. And we think that that should define us. And we get so caught up in work and so caught up in how other people view us and the social level that we think we're on and the vehicle we drive and the clothes we wear. And we forget to think about just really basic, just human component base level stuff. And it frustrates me a lot. Yeah, like I was a complete tomboy. Never thought that I would have kids, let alone two, and then never thought that I would get married. And here I have, first husband ran off like a sorry suck egg dog, but remarried now for 23 years. I never thought I just was not highly domesticated at a young age. I mean, I had a great mom, and she was very domestic, but I was just a farm rat, a barn rat, and I wasn't demure and petite and pretty and polite. I was big and imposing and kind of scary and kind of did my own thing. And I honestly kind of shocked the crap out of me because I got pregnant twice on the pill. Like when the box says like 0.03% of the population, does not have any effect. That would be me. Okay, I had to have a whole like 3 panels run after my son because I was like something's wrong. Because I was like I went like 4 months before we got married to the doctor to get put on birth control and like and then when after my son, I went and I immediately asked for my tubes to be tied. And they said, no, 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 you're too young. And I was like, this is the second child that I have been on birth control with, and it didn't work. So when I had my daughter, I was like, it didn't work. And they were like, well, yeah, but you're still too young. And I was like, I'm not a broodmare. So I don't want to have a kid every year. We're going to have to figure this out. So they did a bunch of testing, and my viable egg production was basically just the same whether I was on birth control or not. And they were like, holy crap, it doesn't affect you. And I was like, oh, that's what I was telling you people, because they just thought I was being young and stupid. And I was like, no, 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 no. No, that's not how no, it's not how I roll. And so I got a tubal ligation when I was 21. And then when David and I married, I thought briefly because I found out that I had endometriosis really, really bad. Now, knowing now about my health, it was this disorder starting to present after my body had been taxed with childbearing years. But we thought about reversing it and me and David having a kid because it would put me into remission from the endometriosis for possibly up to 10 years. And it could have saved me from having a hysterectomy early. But by the time that we were saving up money to do that, to reverse the tubal, I had gotten so bad that we just had to go in for the hysterectomy. So, um, I'm very thankful I have my 2 kids, and I'm thankful I had them early, young, and I'm thankful that it changed the way that I looked at things at a younger age than most. And yeah, I probably would have had more children had I chosen a better first husband. Ladies, listen. Because the doctor was like, we just have 2 children. I said, no, I have 3. You're not counting the husband. And that's when the doctor was like, oh crap. And I was not someone that was going to file divorce. I was not someone that was going to run away from the decision I'd made. And, that was just not who I was. But now when he ran with other women, I decided, no, I won't have a dog that'll run trash. I won't have a man that will either. But I made a lot of decisions that I had to make because of who I married. And I think I probably would have had more children had I married better the first time. Had I not been so stupid and chosen so poorly, And I can't say I regret anything because I'm glad I have my babies and I'm glad I ended up where I ended up. But at the same time, I wish I'd made better decisions for myself. And I can't fault anyone else because it was just me not taking the time to grow up and look at things from a mature standpoint. Even though I was far beyond my years, I still was just not able to understand everything I needed to understand to deal with that type of relationship. So, I preach to women all the time. What you are capable of doing is so special. Please don't share that special ability with just anyone. I think I don't think I grew up and saw society until I had kids. Then that's when I woke up and saw the world and was like, "What crap? We got to do something about this." And I tried to jump in with a career that was going to do something about it, and I very quickly found out that those careers had been rendered useless. They had castrated those careers early, and the government owned any behavior that you were going to see come from those careers and those correctional capacities. And I still like stuck in there trying to find a better way to help people. And I realized that if they found out you were trying to really do your job well and help people, rather than do what they told you to do, send back 30% to run the state so the state prisons could make money, and to basically do whatever they told you to do, whether it was underhand or not, against the law or not, because you were in a position to just be a yes man or a yes woman. You were not hired to think. And when I realized I was sitting around a bunch of idiots who were not hired to think, I thought, do they think I'm an idiot that doesn't think? And then the moment they saw the question mark above my head, they wanted rid of me. They wanted to shake me. It was it was very apparent, very apparent. And that's when I truly realized that the people that are in what people think are these jobs to have capacities to control anything, they don't. They don't. They are just there to curate what the big wigs want. And they have no backbone, they have no spine, they just do what they're told. And it's sad because they're in a position where they could do a lot for somebody. Um, and that kind of broke me. And then when I tried to just do counseling with my health, it was really bad. I was just trying to do some counseling. I signed up for 9 hours. I told her I would lead 3 groups that were 3 hours each, 3 times a week. I would give him 9 hours a week plus all of my prep time I would give him for free. But I had like 12 to 13 kids in each group, so he was going to get mondo clinical hours out of me because I was teaching a large group. It was basically a intensive outpatient group for juveniles, drug rehabilitation. And there's supposed to be someone else do the assessments, someone else do the intakes, someone else do all the filing. I was just supposed to prep my classes, teach my classes, and do my notes. And the next thing I noticed, I was supposed to give him, X amount of clinical hours. Then I was working 6 to 7 days a week. I was doing my own assessments and intakes, doing all my own filing and billing. And I was in the hospital every 6 weeks with my body about to break down, because even though I had stressed to him that I just wanted to work part-time due to my health, I was good, and he kept wanting to give me work. And no matter how I said no, he would use, the kids or the people I was helping as leverage to get me to do more. And one day he came in and he said, well, I see you didn't refer this person to this, this, and this. And I said, well, they're dealing with the DCS case. They're dealing with supervision. They've got to meet with their officer once a week. They have a full-time job. They're working 62 to 67 hours a week right now currently. They don't get a lunch break where they can leave the factory, so they can't do anything on lunch. So therefore, we have to leave them time to, number one, meet their other requirements that came before us. Number two, meet the requirements that they need as a family to maintain their children, stay, up with family court, and to meet all those restrictions. And I said, so we'll just do one at a time, because I'd rather give them a stepping stone rather than throw them a bunch of speed bumps. Maybe once they feel that they've completed something, I can do this, and they'll complete more and more and more, and they'll actually choose to do more on their own after they've left us. And he goes, well, that's not important. They're just going to ask me why we didn't bill for everything we could bill for. And I said, they're not ready. And he said, I don't care if they're ready, put them in the class. And I said, I can't do that. I said, because I understand how that will harm them, and I can't do that. That's against why I'm here. And he said, well, at least send them to the psychiatrist and see if there are any meds we can bill for. I said, they're not needing meds. They need structure. That's not going to come from a pill. And he got very mad at me. He said, well, you're costing me money. I said, I'm not here for you. I'm here for the people. I have to do what's necessary for them, and this is what's necessary for them. And at that moment, I made an enemy. Anyone else that I thought was logically heading a counseling agency would have been like, holy crap, this lady's doing what's right for the patient. That's absolutely what should be done. No. He had people's thumbs on his head and wanting more money, so he's trying to put his thumb on my head. And I really lost all faith in any of these sliding scale help programs. It was just another holding corral, so they could put you down the chute to sell you to somebody else to make some more money on you in your next trial they were going to put you through. and I got really irritated with it. Really irritated with it, and my health was just worse. And we butted heads so much, and my doctors were like, "You can't keep doing this. Your health is so bad." So I left. I left. Yeah, the truth is something hard for a lot of people to hear, and I think it's because it's not something that our world puts in a an important slot. Yeah, select your scope of vision. Yeah, and let me tell you what, they want you to walk through this world blind, and they want you to need them, and they want to be able to control you, and they want to have they already want to put the marionette strings on your children before they're here. They want you to already have them enrolled. That's why it takes, as soon as you know you're pregnant, you better start trying to find a pre-care. You won't have a slot. You better hurry. You better hurry. They want you to register for programs just the moment you find out you're pregnant. It's just amazing. And ladies, I'm just gonna say it. If we were smart, we would have sat back and went, "Why do you want my kids?" I mean, the one thing you can do is look at other nations that pay mothers to stay home, or at least pay for like 6 months of maternity leave. They have a much lower recidivism rate and prison rate amongst their populations, much lower, especially in the juvenile capacity. So they must be doing something better than us, right? And if these programs that were created like 60 plus years ago really worked, we would be seeing reduction in our prison institutions, right? But we've never seen a reduction, and we've only seen high volumes of advancement in the juvenile crime scene. So why are we still funding these programs that obviously don't work for our children? Why haven't we revamped that? Nobody wants to look at that. People are talking about the laws they put on the books the other, and they're going to create new laws. If you want to see something that's going to make you spit, go and look at the laws that have been on the books that haven't been enforced for over 50 years. You'll be surprised. Just do it state by state. It's funny. Louisiana has some really funny ones, by the way. A lot of the Gulf Shore states have a lot of funny ones. And then look at the laws that have been put on the books in the last 10, 20 years that are heavily enforced. You'll start to see where the money's going. You'll see where the programs that were created, what they're paying for. We subsidize the family via the government so that they could make more money off of us because being a family unit was not beneficial enough to them. We needed to be a broken family unit so they could monetize every breach our family had. Just like when they found out people in Appalachia were having a vitamin deficiency that led to a lot of gut problems. They found out that salmon had the vitamins. If people in Appalachia would just eat salmon once a week, they wouldn't have this problem. And so the government stepped in and subsidized salmon so that people all across the U.S. could afford salmon. And then they started showing us, this is your salmon recipe of the week. Ladies, make salmon cakes, make this, make that. And salmon became a staple, especially in Appalachia, because they pumped it into Appalachia trying to reduce the gut issues so that the workers could stay at the mines longer and not have all this medical drama. And that was just a fish. And people are like, they subsidized it, trying to correct it so that they could make more money off it. Honey, they subsidized your children before they were here. They look at every flaw your family may have and they find a way to make money on it. They don't look for anything promising anymore. They look for the defective. Because that's where they make money. There are no programs created for people that do well in life. Unless they're educational. And then when they do well, they put them in jobs where then they own them through their job. Everything is subsidized and effectively held for the benefit of the people that basically have control. And I just want moms to be like, oh, I hold within me the past, present, and future, and I'm handing it over so willingly. And it doesn't mean you have to stay in your home and never go out and feel like you're a trapped rat. That's not what I'm saying. Saying just see how precious what you're doing is and give it more of, even just a little bit, give it more of you. Try to look at it a little differently. Try to find a different perspective, a different avenue to think about things. And let's maybe understand why the reason a lot of people are choosing not to have children these days um, is because the family is no longer a family. The family is a secondary career because there is no emotional. You don't gain anything emotionally. You don't feel fulfilled. You don't, because they've stripped away everything from what being a family is. And it's only the people that truly have taken a step back and understood that this is a blessing. This is a great capacity I'm being trusted with. This is miracle, and those people normally really take on the role and do a really good job. But for most people, they're more enamored with how the world sees them, the clothes they wear, the shoes they wear, the truck they drive, the makeup they put on. Women will be stopped buying expensive makeup. My God Almighty. Gosh, beauty creators. They just have a whole issue with that. Anyway, I just wish people would understand that mm, you can step outside and see direct harm being done to us just looking in the sky. But nobody will sit down and look at the indirect harm that's done in a sneaky way and then go, oh my God, they've subsidized every part of being a family, every possible defect that can come from it, every possible issue you may have, so that they can then allocate more tax money for more programs that goes back to them. And I'm just sitting here going, we're salmon patties. That's what I'm saying. We're salmon patties. We're salmon patties. It is. It's very sad. It's very sad. So no. So women, yeah, I have. I used to be one of those that I'm a woman. I can do anything a man can do. But I didn't understand what being a woman was then. Not until after I had children, and I really had to come into Jesus with myself, and I really understood what I meant. To the end game. Because I had been rolled up in all that too, and thought I needed to be more, needed to have an ethical employment opportunity going, and needed to have it figured out, and needed to be motivated, and that was me too. I was rolled up in all that they were selling back then too. And that's why I said it. I was such a tomboy. I'm amazed. I got married twice. Heck, I'm amazed I got married the first time. I really am. Um, but I'm amazed motherhood found me so young because I was such a tomboy, and I was really driven by what I was capable of doing myself. And but I didn't understand what I was capable of doing myself until I had children. So it was kind of a catch-22. But the number one thing that has hurt. I mean, I won't just say the society here in the U.S. I will say every group of people across the globe. The worst thing that's ever hurt them is for women to have no thought about the role they play in the end game. We hold within us the past, present, and future, and we are created to perform miracles. I mean, my goodness, look at what our bodies do, without a second thought. And we need to embrace that, and instead of fearing children and only having them when we think the government says we can, or they're trying to control the population so that X amount of people have kids and X amount of people want careers and X amount of women. I really think they even control it to the point where X amount of women are sterile. And that's just my opinion. I think there's something to all this. I wish we would all sit down and just think, what do I want? What would someone 100 years ago have wanted? What would be their regret if they were alive now to look back? Look at it from different perspectives. Look at it from, gosh, different centuries, different, and understand that while women have maybe not had a place at the table politically or, socially, women have ran the world by creating it. And many women run the homes and they run the emotional welfare of society. And in the past couple centuries, we have sucked at it. We have let people down. We have allowed the government to step in and be the matriarch. And they don't deserve that job. They're not made for it. And I just want women to see that. I'm reading. Well, I'm glad you guys have had good side conversations. It's a lot to think about. It's a big thought process. And lots of times I have a lot of these thought processes when I'm making flowers for my granny's grave, my grandma's grave. Um, I can't look back at any family member, any female family member that helped to raise me and think, gee, that was a weak person. None of the women that raised me were weak. None. Not one. No, I can look back at some of the men and go, missed the mark. Missed the mark. Didn't quite fulfill any kind of obligation to being here on the planet, did you, bud? I can look back and question some of the men and go, mm, you know. But the women that had a hand in raising me, I go, wow, none of them were weak. And then I look at women today, and a lot of women are understanding again, what their bodies are capable of and how amazing it is. And they're choosing, you see a lot of women going off grid and thinking that they have to go back in time to get back in touch with. You don't have to. No, you don't have to. You don't have to go back in time. You don't have to live in a cabin. You don't have to be off grid. You don't have to have, you know, solar panels and get your water from a well. No, it's just about a respect for, the past and a hope for the future and embracing the present. And it doesn't mean you have to make a harder life for yourself. It doesn't mean any of that. It can mean a million different things for a million different people because they're going to handle it all differently, and it won't be right. However they choose to handle it, will be right for them. It just means putting more thought and effort toward it. Just a little bit. Just a little bit more thought and effort toward it. Your children will appreciate it. As you get older, you'll be much more happy with how you did things. I've never lived a day in my life and thought, oh, I should have put less effort into my children. Never. I will never think that. I will only be like, I should have done more. I should have done more. I'm never gonna grow up and think, oh, I wish I had just left them with a babysitter and worked this other job. Never in my life. No. And when I did work, they knew I'd rather be at home. They knew it was for the family. They knew it was so we could survive. And they learned through me the things that I learned about the world around me. We would stop and have life lesson moments, and when I learned something they needed to know, it would be life lesson moment. We would circle up and talk about it. And so, I hope that I did the right thing. But I stayed home with my kids because, especially after the divorce, because they needed security more than more than we needed a second paycheck. They needed to feel strong in their new family unit more than I needed to have an ego, about what I was capable of producing in a 40-hour time span. So I just hope women look at, your children are the most important thing you'll ever do. They really are. Or the role you play in a life of someone that is growing in this world. That's a very important role that you'll play. Um, I've got a friend in Ohio that doesn't have any of her own children, but she has stepped in a aunt capacity for my children many times and been able to get them through spats that I was not going to be able, because I was too close to it, that I was not going to be able to help them with, to help them process. She stepped in and did that. And she was talking to me the other day how she wished she had put more effort toward, finding a partner in life and having children. And I said, but you worked with children your whole life. You have hundreds of children all across the globe that you raised. And I don't think she had really looked at it that way. And she finally was like, oh gosh, yeah, I have. I said, yeah, you've got kids. You raised how many, And I think she just needed to hear it from somebody else. But I don't know. I just think that as a society, that sometimes we do need to sit down and go, yeah, ladies, we did an injustice to our society by choosing the wrong thing. Yeah, you're right. The best thing you can do is role model a healthy way to handle life in general. Just a healthy way to handle life in general. But there's so many different ways to be positive in a kid's life. I have so many I call them my bonus kids. I have so many bonus kids. And had I not worked, I wouldn't have had a role in their life. But every time I did work, I never let a job like really supersede my family. And TDOC got really close on that one. Because they worked me like a rented mule, like a borrowed mule. They did, and they didn't care if I went home with the energy or capacity to deal with my family. They didn't care as long as I did what they wanted me to do during the day, and I worked 4 times as hard as anyone else. Um, and I saw it. I saw it. And when I began to question them about it, why I carried, why most people it was only legal really to have like up to 128 on your caseload. And most people carried a caseload of 68 to 93. And I had a caseload of 450 plus at one time over 5 counties. I was doing stuff over 5 counties. You know what my manager said? You work better under stress. Well, I think you run faster when I'm chasing you with a pew pew, but do you see me doing it? No, it's not right. And that irked me to the point where I knew at that time I did not need to be there. And I hung on for a couple more years. And what finally happened was I ended up having to have another leg surgery. And I told them, because of all the physical therapy and stuff, I said, I'm not going to be able to work full time immediately after this leg surgery. You're going to have to work with me. And they begrudgingly worked with me, but they knew at that time that I was putting myself and my family's well being before the job, and they knew that they were going to find a way to get rid of me. And so the moment I had a diagnosis, they basically came to me and said I could have a disability or a job. They walked right up to me and told me, you can either have a disability or a job. You need to make a choice. I didn't know there was a choice. My body was crapping out on me. I was doing the best I could do, and I was, still working more than 4 people combined. And I questioned what they were attempting to do a lot. And when I found out that one of the male coworkers was only working like 25, 27 hours a week and was lying, was leaving early, was taking 3, 4 hour lunch breaks, was not doing home visits, was putting in false case notes, all these were felony class offenses. But they were expecting me to babysit his caseload and do the work he was not doing, even though they knew where he was. They knew he wasn't working. And when I brought them pictures and proof, and I said, I'm not doing this anymore. I can't. I'm pushing my wheelbarrow. He needs to push his. Somebody needs to tell him to pick it back up. By God, I'm done. They got very mad at me. They pulled me into 2 meetings where they started to scream at me. I just walked out. I said, we're not doing this. You don't get to treat me that way. So we had to go to the districts for the meeting. And their behavior was a little bit better. Not much, but a little bit better. And I said, they're not going to catch me in the hallway and push me in the corner where the cameras can't catch it and bully me. I said, it's just not going to happen. I said, I'm here, I'm working, I'm doing more than my fair share, and y'all are covering for officers that are not. And I said, no. Just no. I know I'm a good worker. I do every level of supervision we have. I know I'm valuable. And I'm still here and I'm working. I'm not saying, I'll do this much because I know I'm valuable. I'm saying I will work my butt off. But I expect everyone around me to work their butt off too. And the district director said, well, yeah, I agree with you. So they said basically make everything equal. Well, guess what? That made all their little people, they said, I'll pat your head and I'll treat you better as long as you are on my team when the crap hits the fan. That made everybody mad. So they had to realign their troops. They lost a lot of troops. They felt that they were going to lose upward momentum in the jobs because they had lost their support systems for upward momentum. And now I was the cause of all that. And when I finally got to come back full time after that knee surgery, because I had gone through a lot of physical therapy stuff, I put my flex schedule in because I was still going through multiple counties. And since we had that big meeting, the district director said, you submit that, I will approve it Friday, and you don't change your schedule so that we always know where you are. And I said, it's fine. That way, both the district director and my supervisors had a concrete, they knew where I was. I didn't care if they low jacked my vehicle. I was doing my job. I told them that. And the first Monday I was due back at work, I got a call, and I was supposed to be in the county I lived in that day. And everywhere else I worked was in Eastern time, so they were an hour ahead of me. I got a call at 7:03 my time, which meant it was 8:03 their time. And they said, I need you over here to do a parole revocation hearing. The officers didn't come in today. And I said, I can't divert from the plan that I submitted and that was approved Friday. You don't have the capacity to approve that, and I don't have the capacity to okay it. I have to work what I put in, and I'm supposed to be in this county today. And he got very mad at me and just start cussing me blind. And so the tablet I had on the couch next to me, because I was drying my hair and going through the news, looking for arrests that I had to deal with, I just turned it on record and recorded all his cussing. I just turned on speakerphone, hit record, and just lay it down, let him get it out. And then I called the district director and I played it for them. And I said, I'm just trying to be a good employee and play by the rules here. And I said, this needs to stop. I said, it doesn't hurt my feelings. It doesn't make me mad. I said, it irritates me because I'm busting my butt. Nobody seems to care, and they're only trying to trip me up. And I said, I'm not going to be tripped up. And the district director said, well, you're not going to go into work now, because I don't know where his behavior is coming from, and we don't know what's prompting this, but it's vicious, and I don't want you to be in contact with anyone that's going to treat you. You're at home until we have a mediation. And I said, well, can we hurry? Because I got a lot of work to do. That's all I said. Can we hurry and have this? Because I've got a lot of work to do. And they said, well, you just stay home until we have a mediation. And I just went ahead and hired an attorney. I just had a really bad feeling about it. I just went ahead and hired an attorney. And I told the attorney, he was like, what the crap? And I was like, listen, dude, I was like, I have found a whole big issue in this setup here. And I said, I'm just trying to do a job and do it well. And I said, I don't have time for high school politics in adulthood. I just really don't. And So at that point, they basically had to check in every day. We had to call, and then if we didn't get in touch with them, they had to check back. But someone had to speak with both me and my attorney daily to say, yes, we've scheduled the mediation and this is where it's going to be, or no, we haven't yet. After 3 days, they stopped checking back in with me. After 6 days, they stopped checking in with my attorney. My attorney was flabbergasted. He's like, they won't even put me on hold and they'll hang up on me. He's like, we just need to go ahead and set up what we're going to do because something's wrong over here. He's like, we're going to have to advance. On the 8th day, now listen, I had got certified mail at my house from this job the whole time I'd worked there. I knew it took 3 days. You put it in the mail, and on the third day, it showed up in my mailbox. It took that many days to get there. On the 8th day, so on the 6th day, they stopped responding to me or my attorney. The 7th day was just a blank day. The 8th day, one of the coworkers that trained me that didn't even work in my district anymore pulled up and she knocked on my door, and I was like, what are you doing here? Well, they wanted me to come check on you. Why would you need to check on me? I don't even work in your district anymore. You're not a manager over me. Why would you even care? Well, they thought that because I'm the person that trained you and we had a good rapport, I said they would pull you back in and milk my emotions and throw you in the middle of this because they know if they don't fix this, I'm going to sue and I'll be less likely to sue if I have to sue you too. And she goes, oh no, Elizabeth. And I said, why did you? She goes, well, they wanted me to help you. I said, do you think I need help? She goes, well, no. She said, I thought I was doing you a favor. And I was like, yeah, yeah. They played your emotions too. She goes, oh my God, I'm so stupid. She's like, just do what you got to do. We'll make ends meet. Just do what you got to do. Well, her and her husband just had a baby. It did not have the muscles between the diaphragm and the abdomen. It had 17 surgeries already. The husband had lost his job. They had moved back in with her parents. They were strapped for money because that kid was going to have God knows how many more operations. And she was one of the sweetest people I've ever met in the world. That was just, she had the heart for the job, but she didn't understand the manipulation that was going on there. And I think it hit her that day. And she called me a few more times and she said, just sue him. Just sue him, And I couldn't do it. The lawyer, the 9th day, I got a letter at my mailbox that said I had abandoned my post while I was waiting on them to set up a mediation. And my attorney said, we're going to sue him. He said, we got a $2 million suit. He said, you got to sue all your coworkers and them, but all your coworkers that intervened inappropriately separately. And I said, you do know that she just had a baby that's not well, and her whole life is in a shambles. And he said, if you don't sue her, he says, she breached the sanctity of your home. He said, then they'll say you picking and choosing, and they won't give you anything. And he said, nothing to change. And I said, I don't know if I can sue her. He said, you got 5 days. He said, we're going to have something on paper in 5 days. And I looked at David, and he said, do you want to sleep or do you want to have money? He said, I think he said sleep or shop. And I said, I think I'd rather sleep. And so we moved forward and didn't do anything on that. Although I'm probably very wealthy right now if I'd just gone through with it. Now, with Elizabeth today, probably. Yeah, I'm not as nice now. I probably would have said, yeah, we'll figure it out. But they played it really well, knowing how I would respond. And I realized what they did. And so now I'm like, I learned a lot. I don't look at it and go, oh, it's shameful. No, I took it apart. And I learned how they manipulated me. And I put it to use now so nobody else can. And so it has been beneficial. So doesn't matter how good you are. You're only as useful as you will comply to be so in their mind. Most important thing I could say, and my tablet's going to die. So take what I've shared with you and use it how you will. There's no shame in my life. Everything I've done well. Done super well. Helped so many people. I'm proud of it. But I have also allowed a lot of manipulators to take advantage of me. And I don't wish that upon anyone. And that's why I'm sitting here going, women, wake up. Wake up, women. We're everything. Past, present, and future. However you want to apply it, wake up. Okay, I'm going to log off. I'm going to go get some stuff done and play with Luna. She's been snoring the whole time. So y'all have a great day, and hopefully I'll see you on Booma's Chat tonight with Sabrina. 6 Central, 7 Eastern. And if I get done, I'll see you tonight. But Sabrina will be on Booma tonight. So y'all have a wonderful day. And just think, play the long game, because you bet your sweet Lippy they are. Think about it. All right, love you guys. Thanks for listening to me. Bye.